And we worship you here in this place. Sing it from the Spirit now. You are great and wonderful. Oh, and we worship you here in this place. Oh.
Okay, how's everybody doing tonight? Good. Okay, this right here is completely different for me. So I just wanted to be interactive. I'm just going to share my experience and how God worked in my situation, and I'm going to ask questions and throw stuff out there, and I would love your feedback. If you guys have any questions at any time, just like raise your hand, and I'll be more than willing to answer as much as I can. So this past May, I was given an opportunity to go to Israel. Before going to the trip, I had a financial obligation of $4,000. I didn't know where it was going to come from. I just knew that I was supposed to be in Israel. I was supposed to go on this trip. I had been planning it since last year, and I was like, I'm going to go on this trip. So financially, some things kind of weren't working out the way they were supposed to go. It was like 3 weeks before the trip, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I just kind of came into faith with a lot of people around me, and was just like, and Pastor Timothy was like, you got to see yourself in Israel. You got to feel your feet in the sand. You got to be there, like, be present there. And so I stood on that belief, and FPU was able to offer me some money, and then a lot of people in here gave out of their lack or out of their abundance, and I was able to go to that trip. So that just took my faith to a whole different level, just not having any money for the trip to coming up with $4,000 2 weeks before the trip. So just talk about new expectations. I mean, that right there just kind of blew my mind. So yeah. You guys have your Bibles or on your cell phones? If you go to Psalm 122. And so basically this trip was a geographical and a historical study of the land of Israel. Israel is not that big of a country, so we were able to see the entire country in 3 weeks. And so a lot of the stuff I'll be showing you and talking about is topography and geography. And history is going to be mixed up Old Testament and New Testament because some sites double lap. And we'll see as we go. Okay, Psalms 122. Rejoice with those who said to me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Our feet are standing in your gates, Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built like a city that is closely compacted together. I'll just stop right there. I'm going to start showing you guys pictures now so you can put the words to the images and connect those two things. So this is the college where we stayed at. It's Jerusalem University College. It is a college that is for a master's level program where you could study, you could get your master's in theology, history of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and there's one other that I don't remember. So they have a past alumni that is now a professor at our school, Dr. Brian Schultz, and he's been doing this trip for the past 5 years. So he takes a group of FPU students to Jerusalem every year just so that they can get the experience. So this is just a picture of the top part of the university we're staying at. This is a couple of people. Oh, Phil. I'm like, Phil. I don't. Can you go back so I can just? Okay. Now, how do I hit it so it doesn't like keep going? Just at the right arrow. Okay. All right. Cool. So this is a group, this is me and 3 other guys that were on the trip. There was a total of 7 of us, 3 women and 4 men. All of us, I feel like it was so divine because we all come from different walks of life. The guy with the glasses on is a doctor. The shorter guy next to him is an ex-military guy. Me, just regular student. Rodolfo, 19-year-old from Mexico. We had 2 other students. One of them is an international student from Ethiopia. And then we had Joan, who was in her 60s, who grew up in the South in the era of Jim Crow. And so you see that dynamic right there, just all mixed in. Like, we're all going to have different perspectives as we're going into a brand new situation. So I feel like that was awesome just from there. And so as I read in Psalms 122, it says, "Your feet are standing within the gates, O Jerusalem." Jerusalem, in its entirety, is surrounded by gates and walls everywhere, and that was for protection. And so we'll see that all through. So that is the Tower of David, and so that dates back to. Don't let me get to giving you the wrong date, so I'm not going to give you the date. All right. This is I'm going to give no invalid information. All right. So this is another view of one of the gates. This is Jaffa Gate. This is the main gate entrance into Jerusalem. Yes, Maddox. That's it. Another view. These are. I'll just have like about 5 or 6 pictures of the gates so you can get different views of them. This is from the northern wall of the gate, and as you see, like I said, it goes all the way around, protecting its entire city. And another view of the gate. All right, so Jerusalem is built like a city that is closely compacted together. Like you can see, this is the Palestinian area, so it's a little bit more infested with dirt and junk because the Israeli state doesn't have any reign over the Palestinian state, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So what they have begun to do is just throw their trash over because the Israeli state won't go and take their trash out. So it has a very, very bad stench. So you have this very tightly knitted together city with all this buildup and trash and stench. And so we start to see the level of how it can be uncomfortable for them. And that's another view of it. And all this is encapsulated by a wall. And if you guys are like looking, everything is built up, like everything's on a hill. So you see how you can kind of see down there towards the middle. You'll have the cars going down like on an incline because everything's hills. Any questions or anything so far? Yeah, go ahead.
So the wall, does that just encapsulate like what's considered like Old Jerusalem?
Yes,
Or
the
is
old
that-
city of Jerusalem.
So there's still, there's like still city
There's
outside
city-
of that wall, but, okay.
Yes. So, and that is the city outside of the wall.
So is the city outside of the walls where all the garbage is?
That's the Palestinian area. Yes, that's where the garbage is at. In the old city, there's no garbage or anything.
Why? How come they don't have a landfill?
Where to get to it?
Well, yeah, there's the issue between the Palestinians and the Israelis, and the conflict got so strong that they won't even deal with the trash or the sanitary methods there. So they don't care. So whatever Palestine wants to do with their trash, their dump, that's up to them. Palestine doesn't have any access to the Israeli state, so they don't have anywhere to dump the trash. So they just dump it on the property that they do have.
So it's like they almost don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah,
Like
at all.
the city
They don't have,
infrastructure.
exactly. You can look at the space and see that there's.
A lot of disease, like sickness?
From what I hear, not really, surprisingly. I think that this has been going on for about 40 years now, and so it's kind of something that's just a part of their normal day-to-day life, which is, yeah, so, yeah. Thank you for the questions, this is good. All right, so this is, Nate, your question, I'm gonna walk up so you can see. This is the wall that surrounds the old city. And then this is the Mount of Olives. I was standing on the opposite side, so I can see all of what I just pointed out to you guys. So you can kind of get an image of what's encapsulated in the old city of Jerusalem.
You're standing on the Mount of Olives?
I'm standing on the Mount of Olives, yep. So there's 3 trees that are the signs that it's the Mount of Olives, and I'm standing there. And I'm taking a picture this way of the old city.
And that's the Dome of the Rock.
That's the Dome of the Rock, yes. And I will get to that too. All right, this is just another image from the Mount of Olives.
Are those all bricks?
Those are burial sites. And so the way that they buried their family members, or they did, was they would take the femur, which is the longest bone in the body, they would measure it to see how big a person's, what we would call casket, is going to be. They would wait for the body to decompose, and then they would take the bones and put them inside of there. And so all this that you see are the graves of, I don't know, there's supposed to be in a certain amount of people that when Jesus comes back, he's coming back towards the Mount of Olives. I don't know the exact amount, but that's their graves. So, yeah. So that's what you see.
How long would they have to wait for the body to decompose before they put them in the grave?
I don't know how long it took. They said until it was completely decomposed. Yeah.
Or are they doing?
And they had like bin type of things that were open that they would keep the bodies in until they completely decomposed. Then they would take the bones out and put them inside of the caskets. Yeah. And it was a dishonor to not bury your dead. So this is something that went on, and they said the stench was horrible and it was just not anything pretty. But this is a part of their tradition and their culture, and this is something that they did to honor the dead.
So all those are like tombstones?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where the body's at. The bones are inside. Go ahead.
Nurse Sarah said that it can take up to 2 weeks to a month
For a body to
It
decompose.
depends on a lot of factors, like
Yeah.
heat and stuff like that, but yeah.
Mhm. And they would use different methods to make it decompose faster. So, yeah. Go ahead.
So you said used to, what do they do now?
Oh, they do regular burials, like how we do it in America. Yeah. That's another view. You can actually see how they're sticking out the ground. I think that's a little bit of a better view. And you got to remember that these are not that big because it's only as long as your femur. And so, I mean, they're
It's like a
not that big.
huge casket like we have. It's like
Yeah. If I could like compare it in size, it would be like half of Tim's keyboard or smaller depending on how big your femur was. And then it would probably be about this deep. So, yeah.
So the whole mount is like this giant area.
That's all it is, the entire mount. All right. That is another view from the Mount of Olives, and then you can see the Dome of the Rock, which I'll get more into when I talk about the 4 different quarters. This is a view of when we first got there. The weather was crazy. So it was hot, then it was raining, and then it was overcast, but it was amazing though. Like, it was beautiful. So this is like the second day we were there, and it was like pouring down raining for the first 2 days that we got there, and the weather's like 80, 85 degrees. So it's humid and sticky. All right, so I guess to address the issues of how the old city is broken up, it's broken up into 4 different quarters. So you have the Christian quarter, the Armenian quarter, the Muslim quarter, and the Jewish quarter. And this is, we happened to be there when it was Pentecost, so we were able to see a lot of things that we wouldn't have. Yeah, get me started. I was like,
Get back on the
so
piano
this is
stand.
a young. Actually, I wasn't able to go. So it's split up. This is the Jewish quarter, and we were not allowed to go on the side where all the males were at. So we had to partner up with a male while we were out there, just because that's how their culture works. Like, if you're a woman, you need to be with the man, because if not, you're loose. You need to be covered up, and you need to be with the man. And that's just how it is. It's a very patriarchal society, and that's just what it was. So one of the guys that I was with, he was able to take pictures for me of the young boy during Pentecost carrying the scroll. Wow. Yeah. So that's what you see there. And that is in the Jewish quarter. All right, and this is a picture of the Wailing Wall, and this is kind of the exact same dynamic, but just a different view of the picture. A person has the scroll, and they're entering into, I think it was like a prayer, it's like a very, like, holy prayer area that they had, and only like a certain, like, you had to be at a certain level in your priesthood to go in there. And again, I wasn't on that side, so I'm just going off of what the guy that was with me told me. So, yeah. And they have their prayer cloths on, and, yeah. All right, that's another view of the Wailing Wall. And what they're doing is they would walk up to the wall, and they would have prayers and chants, and they would do it in rhyme, and they would go up against the wall like this for hours, and they would pray for hours. And I was interested, because I was like, what are they doing? Why are they? And that's true to their tradition, and that's how they pray. Go ahead.
I don't see any women, Kendra.
Oh yeah, because this is just the male side. Women are not allowed on the male side at all.
Are they allowed on the women's wall or not?
They're allowed on the Welling Wall. I'm going to get to the pictures of the women right now. So this is the Welling Wall, and this is where the women were at. Me and my friend were able to get close, and what you see, those white things that you see are prayers. So people would go write out prayers and stick them in the wall and then pray to the wall. And so the Welling Wall is the main area for the Jewish culture. Yeah.
So it's like partitioned off, like there's a rope.
Yeah,
for men.
yeah, exactly. So it would be like how it's split in here would be like this, men over here, women over here.
And they,
Go ahead.
were they praying to the wall or at the wall?
They were praying at the wall.
Oh, okay.
They were praying. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good question. I was
Enough
wondering the
paper
same
For the
thing.
wall to catch on fire?
What'd you say?
There's so much paper.
There
stuck in there.
is, you know what? There was so many pieces of paper in that wall. I tried to go stick something in there. I put iron wraps on there. Hey, iron wraps on the wall. Turn up. Okay, this is another view.
Only Kendra.
This is another view of the Welling Wall. This is at nighttime, and this is the night of Pentecost. And so they would pray all day and all night, and it was a celebration. I mean, there was music. Everybody was in their traditional clothing. There was laughter. Kids were running around in circles, and so like just to be there during Pentecost and to experience that, like that, oh my gosh, it was amazing. It's huge. Not good at giving numbers, so I'll say it's about as long as You for Christ. Yeah, like the lengthwise. Yeah. So it's a long walk. All right. And this is a golden menorah that was erected, and this is in the Jewish quarters as well. All right. And that's, we'll start getting into, all right, so now this is the Armenian quarters. And so like I said, it's split up into 4 different places. So this is from the Armenian Orthodox Church. They were having a procession walking into the church, and we were able to catch a picture. It was amazing. And so the priest is in the middle, and they're walking this way. You see the guy in the back's recording it. And the Armenian quarters, they sit right where the Via Dolorosa is at. So the Armenian quarters right here, and then the Via Dolorosa, the road that you can actually walk up, is right next to the Armenian quarters. And every day at, I believe it's 3 o'clock, and they do it another time during the day, they'll have a reenactment of Jesus bearing the cross. And so there'll be somebody acting out Jesus bearing the cross. Every day. Every day. Every day. Yeah. Every day, every year? Yes. Go ahead, Janelle.
What's the Via Dolorosa for those of us that don't know?
Oh, that's a good question.
just
Go
me.
ahead and explain it.
No, I was actually really asking.
Yeah, let's get a Bible scholar in here, Phil. You want to explain to it? You want to talk
Or
about
Tim.
it?
I would.
I'm not so qualified to answer.
Right. I can give you a.
We can Google
Go
it.
ahead, Nate.
Google it.
Well, that's the path that they would take up to the Golgotha,
Yeah.
to the Mount where Christ is.
I don't know what Dolorosa means, do you?
I don't know what that means either.
Of the rose.
It is
It's like the way
Latin.
of suffering.
That's what it is. That's the way it's done. Yeah.
So it was like kind of like the death, their last walk. Like,
3 miles.
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
It's the way of grief. Way of
Way of
grief.
grief.
Way of pain for way of sorrows.
The way of sorrow.
For way of grief.
Okay.
Thank you, Google. Yes, that's right.
And this is another picture from the Armenian quarters. This is a picture of the top part of the church. I'm just trying to give you guys like just little glimpses of what I was experiencing. Another view, perfect timing. All right, let's get to some cultural stuff. Like, you go into the old city and it's amazing because you walk into hearing all kind of different languages and voices and music, but then you have all kind of different scents going into your nose because there's fresh pita, there's fresh spices, there's fresh fruit. And so the first day we got there, like we were just so taken back by all the food and stuff we seen that we were like missing what he was saying to take pictures of what the food was. So they make fresh bread, fresh pita.
So that pita is not like the unleavened bread?
No, I don't know. It's not. All right.
Did you see any of that?
I didn't see any of them. And this is a dessert, Gaddafi. And it is baked cheese at the bottom, with, they take pistachio, top it with pistachio, and it's cooked cheese and they put like brown sugar on it. So their dessert, it sounds disgusting really, but it's delicious. And this is what I loved about being in Israel was like everything was from like, we're coming from cheese and nuts and stuff, and making our desserts is not just everything that's processed. It's not everything that's, you know, high fructose sugar and corn syrup, but it was really good. And so I had to take a picture of that. Our professor bought us a Trevid and we like went through it in like 2 minutes. Yeah. This is some more pictures of the bread. It was really good. All right, and then for my meat lovers in here, my carnivore. Yes. So you got the lamb up here, and so they would cut it off and hand it out, and you would eat it just like that. I was tempted to try it while I was there, but you should have. I should probably blessed.
Hallelujah.
It wasn't worth it. All right, and this is just some more stuff from the marketplace. Stuff that they were trying to sell, which they probably make so much money off of for tourists there. But this was just one of the places that we had stopped at. Fresh vegetables and
That's a farmer's market.
yes, it was a full farmer's market. And then this is just some of the clothing. I have a better view of it, but that's some of the purses and stuff that they would sell in the marketplace. And it was interesting because in the marketplace, it was all males who were running the stores.
But that's why they have churches at all these
At these sites.
locations, because it's like the Holy Sabbath commemorate the site, so nobody builds an apartment building there. So
Right. They're trying to keep the holy places holy. And so whether it's another religion that comes and takes over, they still want the holy places to be holy. Pools of Bethesda. This is where the paralytic was at. And it went down really far, and so the pools would have sat at the bottom. And I was coming from top view. I have another picture. So I think that's my only picture I have of that. So that was the one view that we had. And they said the pools would have been at the bottom. Wow. This is the Mediterranean Sea. And I have sand and rocks and stuff, so you can see the type of sand that was at the Mediterranean Sea. I can pass it around so you can get a view, but it was very grady and there were seashells all through it. Yeah, that was the sun setting. We went there when the sun was going down.
How was the water?
It was warm. The water was very warm and very salty. Me and one of the girls, this was us heading out to church. That's the Church of the Nativity. And so you can kind of see the different arcs, and there was some mosaic on the ground.
Looks pretty big.
It's huge. All these churches are very huge. None of these things are small. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was kind of. How often do you eat?
Oh man, we ate 3 times. We ate like 3 times a day.
Okay.
But we would eat our dinner. That's us swimming in the Mediterranean Sea. We would eat our dinner pretty late, so we would be out for about 10 hours a day. Wow. We would be out from sometimes 6 until 6:37 every day, and we would be hiking and going to these different sites. So we would probably like hike maybe 2 or 3 miles a day, maybe more depending on the day. And then we would go to different sites that commemorated things. Yes.
Was you able to take the foods with you on the hike?
Yeah, we had like sack lunches and stuff. We would have breakfast on campus, sack lunch, and then we would go out for dinner or go back to the college. Another view of the Mediterranean Sea, which was beautiful. It was beautiful.
It is very
It was beautiful.
Did you have to buy the sand?
No, I just took it.
She had a Ziploc bag.
I had a water bottle and I filled it up. That's us jumping, just doing crazy stuff. Yeah, we had some ride. This is us. We were about to head into a tunnel. Again, a lot of stuff was done underground just because of heat. And so for our own protection, when going into a lot of different sites, we would have to wear like hard hats because they would be like safety first. That's another view of Jaffa Gate, some more of the people that were on the trip with us. I think that's it for part 1. And part 2 is not very long. I can just like put on a slideshow for that, so you guys can go through that. But yeah, so any questions or anything? Yeah, you can just put slideshows.
So what did this trip personally mean to you?
Right, good question. That's a good question. I think you weren't here initially when I talked about like just expectations of what trusting that if God has something for me that is for me and putting my full faith into believing that. I think on an international level it has caused me to look at the body of Christ differently, understanding different like cultural perspectives. Like everybody doesn't think or look like me. And it's made me very much more open-minded to just different cultures, the way that they believe, the way they eat, the way they value family, just simple things like that. And I think it has shown me that God is different. He's different in a lot of different ways, and that I am not going to confine him to a box. My understanding of God is my own Western understanding of God. I sat down and had conversations with people who were from Palestine, and their understanding of God was completely different. Does that mean that's not a reflection of Christ? Who am I to say? You know what and so just trusting God in expectation, knowing that you could not have anything 2 weeks before the trip and then you could be in Israel, changing, redefining the way that you read the Bible, redefining your belief, changing your foundation of what you believe. It's done that for me. Yeah, you have a
Yeah, what do you mean by different views?
different views.
Of who God was.
They have different views of who God is.
Can you give like an example how they're really different than how we believe?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Go ahead, Rebecca.
So being part of the Muslim, that's
I'm
a
gonna
very,
play
very
again
different
also.
view in itself. When you see her wearing a hijab, it's you have to stay fully covered. I know because I've taken my shahada 9 years ago, part of the Muslim tradition. Their views of Allah is actually based upon Muhammad, and it's a totally different view. It's a human being, not a God.
I think even just the concept of what we're entitled to is different.
Yeah.
Culturally speaking, like I know we were talking about modesty. I think there is a sense of entitlement in America about how women can dress, and that's entirely different there. And that there's like that's part of their concept and lens that they view God.
Right.
It's completely different than us.
By the way, you look good in a hijab.
Exactly.
Like
I wanted you to, I seen a picture of you getting baptized in the Jordan River. Can you kind of like talk
Yeah, I
about
seen that too.
Like,
Yeah.
you should-
How did it feel?
Yeah, so I got baptized. I have never been water baptized. I was raised in a CME church. Everything has a method, and so they sprinkle on you, and that was when I was 7 years old. And while I was there, I was praying to God. I always wanted to be baptized and I wanted to have a water baptism. But I wanted to do it with people that I was just like, oh, I want family there. I want people who were close to me there. But as I was there, I was praying, and I feel like God was leading me. And He was just like, I've surrounded you with this community of people for this experience for a reason. And I just went ahead and did it, and it was amazing. And I feel like it was refreshing. It was refreshing to me. Just seeing God in a different, another expectation. Like just trusting God in that. Like I don't have Sedina there with me, but I trust that God has put somebody else there with me that will be able to pray me through this or be there to support me through this. And it was super life-giving. Yeah.
Kendra, I need to this is incredible. Thanks for sharing. I wanted to ask you a quick question. So is this new? Like, has your family done anything like this before? Or is this
No.
It's a totally new thing for.
It's a totally new thing. None of my family's ever gone to Israel. Yeah. So I'm the first person.
Wow. And I think think you're the first person among many of us, and so
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
for going on this journey on our
For
behalf
us.
and with
Yeah.
us and all of that. Yes.
So now, in the last 3 years, you've been on 2 expeditions, one to deep Mexico, and then from there to Israel. In a real sense, for real.
For real.
For real. Now, how has it really impacted and changed your life? That, I mean, that you can come back to this land, this soil, and see a difference culturally and as a Christian.
Yeah, I think it, more than anything, it just really affects my cultural perspective of what truth is. Like my understanding of God is not confined. Every time I go to a different place, I see God in a different way, and it's not confined to my upbringing or my understanding. And I see reflections of Christ in all these different ways. I can look at something from China, and they'll be practicing. They'll be doing some type of karate or something, and I feel like I see Christ in that because there's so much discipline there. And people would, want to differ with me on that, but I see reflections of Christ in so many ways that I wouldn't have seen him before. And it's because of my traveling, it's because of my experiences, it's because I'm thrusted into situations where my dependence has to come from God. And they're really uncomfortable situations, to be completely honest with you. Because, you want to hang on to what you know and where you're comfortable. But God is like, no, I have more for you. Kendra, I created you to do this. And I feel like God has created me to see, I'm going to see the world before I die.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to many more places. I'm going to have that perspective. And I feel like that gives me a heart to not be so quick to judge, but then to be very quick to listen to what this person has to say. Instead of putting up this defense or this wall and saying, because you don't think or believe like me, I can't listen to you. But no, I'm going to sit and listen to you because I know that you're created in the image of Christ and you're a reflection of Christ. And so I think that more than anything, that's what traveling and going through these experiences have done for me.
Thank you so much.